Okay, so welcome back. We're now sort of looking at what's going to happen next week in part two. Okay, so key data this week. We're still going to see a few more central bank speakers, just airing their views on inflation and rates and whatnot. And then, of course, data-wise, now the US has got lots of data out this week. Durable goods, housing data, consumer confidence, then Richmond manufacturing, Michigan consumer confidence. And they're sort of when they're sort of got a state involved, it's just because they're taken as sort of their survey is expected to be quite similar across the rest of the country. But again, I put less and less emphasis and strength to any of these surveys because not enough people respond to them. We've also got bank stress testing data coming out. So again, how are the banks doing? Are they sort of keeping within their regulatory criteria or not? Initial jobless claims. Now again, with these jobless claims, as I've been mentioning over recent weeks, expect them just to keep growing. Not necessarily every week and not necessarily fast, but I do expect that to grow. And it just makes sense. And then in the US, there's also GDP, and then the big one, PCE, which is obviously the Fed's favoured metric for inflation. And finally, Chicago PMI. In the EU, we've got consumer confidence, CPI, and some unemployment data. Then Germany, IFO, CPI, retail sales, and again, unemployment data. UK, a bit sparse this week, just housing data and of course GDP. So, again, if that GDP stays above zero, which I would guess there's a good chance it will. In China, PMI, Canada, CPI. Moving on to Australia, CPI and retail sales. And then Japan, we've got retail sales, CPI, unemployment data, and also industrial production. So, it's going to be another interesting week. Can the stock market sort of bounce back from last week, or, is the writing on the wall that perhaps everything's got that little bit too overpriced? Now, in some ways you can see that the market should be coming off, but there's arguments against that when you look at the profit margins for some of these companies as well. And of course, it's the big Titan companies that are really driving these indices around. So that's enough. Now we're going to move on to part three, which is going to be my macro outlook. Hope to see you there. As I said, I'm not just going to repeat all this again. Hopefully you watch part one and it's just in there. I will repeat it all on the final part after part four.